sequel, Bahubali The Conclusion, in 2017, establishing himself as the leading director nationally. In his 17-year career, Rajamouli has won 3 national awards. And talking to him today is Dhanya Rajendran, co-founder of News Minute, a prominent news website in the South, and over to them.
So we start with that note. I'm sure everyone knows about Bahubali 1 and 2, but for those who do not know, maybe don't know the details, in fact, I asked you before coming here, as to what figures should I quote. So it's the biggest blockbuster that Indian cinema has seen, $370 million for 2 movies. So this is created with Bahubali, and of course it's not ended. There's a web series coming on Shivagami, there's a tabletop book, there's comics, there's so much more happening on Bahubali. So the conversation is going to be nice, sometimes not nice. After 25 minutes, we will invite questions from the audience. But in case you're really bursting to ask something, you could try putting your hand up in between and I may take it. So my first question to you is South Indian cinema. A lot of people believe that after Bahubali's massive hit, that South Indian filmmakers think they can breathe really big now. How do you feel that you are the one who heralded that's brought in a change?
No, I can't take the credit. I don't feel like taking the credit. Once in a while, there will always be a filmmaker who will think big. Sometimes there will be a president, sometimes there will not be a president. So, but for some people, obviously, Bahubali will give a confidence that you can think big, but not everyone who thinks big can make a big film. I myself don't know whether I'm going to make a big film. So it's only the dream, and you just go ahead with it with all your conviction, and so many things, so many people have to come together to make it big. Yeah.
But regional cinema, there's always a boundary. Do you think that boundary is created by filmmakers? They believe that if I make a Telugu movie, it's for the sensibility of Telugu audience, or if it's Tamil, it's for Tamil audience. So what will actually enable regional media filmmakers, you think, to actually cross those boundaries and make cinema which sort of appeals to everyone? Or is that not possible in a country like India where the cultural differences are vast? Is Bahubali one of those rare movies?
No, I don't think so. The boundaries are in your mind. I mean, practical boundaries will always exist. The networks or the distribution system, which has been used to certain kind of way of functioning for a long time, would not think of inviting everyone to get into their system. That's obvious, but that's a physical hurdle that you have to cross, which is not too hard. The real hurdle is in your brain. For me, I always say this. I work on human emotions, and I feel that human emotions are the same across any language, any culture. So if you, because I make films like that, for me, I think that is easy for me to cross boundaries. I really feel the hurdles are in your brain. It is not at all impossible.
But what are the hurdles in your own brain, especially when Bahubali 1 became such a massive hit across India, and there was obviously a lot of pressure on how Bahubali 2 will turn out. So what are the mental barriers that you also had in making this film pan-Indian?
See, for us, Bahubali 2 is not an afterthought. It's not like, okay, Bahubali 1, we had a hit level. No, let's use this to make another film. It is one story, because it's a big story, because we can't fit a 5-hour film into one part, we divided it into 2 parts. So it's not an afterthought. So it is always we are making one big story. Now, if we have like that, then we should be making Bahubali 3, which is much more easier for us to make money.
So are you?
No. see, why we made Bahubali is because we had an exciting story. And my story is over with Bahubali too. I don't have any other story left. If I have, then I
will ask that question. So, but still, when you made it, did you always believe that it's going to work for all audiences?
Yes.
Why do you think so?
Otherwise, we will be sinking. If we spend so much of money on it, if everyone across India are not going to see the film, if only my Telugu audience are going to watch the film, then we are going to sink.
So that was kept in mind, right?
I'm joking, but like I said, I truly believe that this film is going to appeal to everyone across India. Why is because it starts right from the beginning where I have been reading the kind of stories, which always had a pan-Indian feel. I mean, basic inspiration is like from Mahabharata and Ramayana and all the Amar, and they are not region specific. They are pan-Indian stories. And my film had that kind of appeal. So, and the story had that kind of appeal, and I really believe that it would appeal to everyone. And that is the confidence even my producer had. That's the confidence even my all the technicians had. That's why we make it.
So, but now when you are going to make a new movie, is that thought always in your mind, or are you going to make movies which is for the Telugu audience only? But you now think that when SS Rajamouli makes a movie, everybody is thinking, I want to watch it because it's going to be according to my sensibilities also. Is there pressure on the filmmaker in it?
No, see, filmmaking is never pressure for me. Whatever films I make, the pressure comes towards the end of the film. As it's about to release, whether the film is going to become a hit or not, is the pressure that I experience. But when I'm conceiving the story, it is the best part. There is no pressure. Every moment is beautiful as each and every scene falls into places. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. Everything is formed. It's a pleasure. At that time, I won't be thinking too much about how I'm going to market it, to which part of the country is going to be like. I won't be thinking too much about it. No? With the experience, I will have an idea. What kind of target audience I'm going to have. I have a rough idea, but I won't be thinking too much into it as the project is being formed in the initial stages. As it is being formed, then obviously we think of the commercial aspect of it, how much it's going to cost, and where are we recovering this money from, and what kind of audience it's going to reach. That will come a little bit later, but at the base of it, it is just the pleasure of storytelling.
So your next movie, his next movie is called RRR, with two big superstars in Telugu. So is that also going to be a pan-Indian movie? How are you?
It is a pan-Indian film because the nature of the stories.
It's again a fantasy movie.
Don't ask me more questions. But it's going to be a pan-Indian film, yes.
Is it going to be in that bigger scale as Bahubali, or? So is it going to be at a large scale, or?
It will be a large scale movie, yes.
Okay. So, because we are studying Harvard, and I'm sure there are a lot of students from business school here, and there have been a lot of conversations happening on startups. So, as a movie maker, for the people who run their own companies or startups, what do you think is the lesson that they should take in the film industry? That are things not in your control, or are things in your? Is planning a huge part of it?
Yes, planning is a very, very huge part of it. And there will be many things which will go out of control. But one thing that you can't let go out of control is your conviction and is your confidence. That is the one thing which you really have in your hand. And all other things come from the outside world. And if you have your conviction and your confidence and your whole team working, believing in your conviction, then you will find a way to overcome that. Sometimes you will be falling flat on your face,
but you've never had that experience.
We had many experiences.
Of your movies, because I thought all of them were commercial hits.
Commercial hit is after the release of the movie. I'm talking during the making of the production. We faced many.
Can you tell us
one of the biggest thing is when we were making Bahubali Part 1. And you know it's a big hit, it's collected so many crores and all that, but at that time it is a daring attempt. At that time the biggest collection that Telugu film made was some 80 crores or something, and our budget at that point was 250 crores or something. And every rupee was important, and we were working on such tight scales and everything, and suddenly the Federation called for a strike.
The movie federation?
The movie federation, yes, called for a strike, and the rule is that they have to give a 1 month heads up before they call a strike. They didn't. And we had so many artists, so many sets and everything lined up. Stopping our production at that point of time was next to impossible. So we started asking them that, according to the rule, you have to give us a 1 month notice. I said, no, this is what we are going to do. We are holding our talks with the producers, so we can't shoot it. So we said, okay, then do one thing. Basically, the strike is for rise in the hike. So we said, okay, from today, by the end of your talks, whatever the rise of hike is there, we're going to pay you that.
Okay.
Don't stop our production. Because there's so much at stake. They said, no, you can't. And my producer got so angry. Yeah. And all of us got so angry, and he said, we decided that we are going to shoot no matter what. The light boys didn't come. Okay, fine. The production boys didn't come. Fine. We found an alternative for each and every of the 24 crafts. Some fight master came from Los Angeles.
How many people are we talking about?
We're talking about. See, our whole unit is at an average strength of 700, 800 people. But at that time, we brought in about maybe 100 people.
From other industries?
Not industries.
Oh.
It's a pan-India strike. So, a pan-India strike in the sense it's a Telugu film industry strike, but they can't get people from. It's an all-India confederation, so no one will come work for us. So, we got non-filmic people working for us.
How many days did this go?
There is some 16 days, 17 days schedule. It is more because, why should we stop? No, we shouldn't stop. And there was ban on my cinematographer, there was ban on me, they banned me from the industry because we are going against the federation. We said we are not going to stop the film, whatever happens. And we did it. We did it. And the big thing we learned was, the surprising thing was, it was costing about 15 to 16 lakhs a day with the whole unit. And with this smaller unit, we were doing the same kind of work with 10 to 12 lakhs a day. We should have continued, but obviously we can't. I mean, today it seems not so big a thing, but at that point of time, which is like, we are risking so much, all the effort that we put in, we are going against a lot many people. But just that, it's our film and we shouldn't stop our film. The conviction from the core team made us through.
But the fact that you are SS Rajamouli and you had actors like Ranadar who got in Sharma, does it also become easier for you to actually say no to that strike? But a smaller movie maker perhaps may not have, I mean, is that how industries work? That you also have your clout which you can use?
That doesn't work. That really doesn't work. Anyone who has made it, I'm not saying I'm a big person, but anyone who has made it a little bit in any kind of industry will always know that your big cloud, your big name, your connections will not work with any kind of union. You will also know that. It doesn't work like that. In fact, the persons who get hit by these unions and strikes are mostly the bigger people. They don't target the smaller people.
So since you talk about planning, how much planning went into creating the virality of why did Bahubali film Katapa? I'm sure there was some thought into the virality. Do not put this So how much money, how much thought went into creating that virality? And I mean, I'm a big Harry Potter fan, so before Dumbledore died, for like 2 years, for like Dumbledore. No, I'm saying it was. Okay, so it was that much, right? The whole speculation. But I'm sure that it was also planned to a certain level. And you're someone who, your interval for every movie, and that is not only Bahubali, all your other movies, your intervals are always like that. The punch. In Bahubali, the first part almost ends like the interval. So tell us about the secret of the viral secret.
Okay, when we completed the whole story and then we decided to make it into 2 parts, so there was a long debate on how to split it. Whether we should make it a straight narration, whether we stick to the flashback narration, and where should we stop the first part, and what should be the interval of the first part, what should be the interval of the second part. So a lot of discussion, so we decided, okay, let's make it a flashback narration and we'll stop the first part at the end of the war. But because it's a flashback narration, we started with a certain set of characters. Right? We started with Mahendra Bahubali, we started with the villages, we started with Kattappa, narrating the flashback. And we are ending the film with a different set of characters, with Sivagami and Mahendra Bahubali. We thought that was not nice because this set of guys have started narrating the story. At the end of the first part, we have to come back to them and give a proper ending. And there was no emotional high in this. At the end of the war, there is an emotional high. And just coming back and saying, okay, let's tell the story 6 months later is not going to
make people talk about it.
There's no emotional high. So we thought, okay, let's give an emotional high. Let's put some part of the second part here to make it interesting for the people. Maybe we thought which is the best part, killing that is the best part. Okay, let's put it as there. And I really didn't think of it as a cliffhanger ending. Okay, I thought it was a nice ending for people to look forward for the second part. That's why if you watch the film, you will see even the music and everything are very poetically done. Even the killing of Bahubali is like a silhouette shot with fire burning in the background, with slow motion shot, with hair flying and everything. It's a poetically, musically done. I didn't expect it to be a viral this thing at all. In fact, we didn't have Vaikatappa killed Bahubali as a tagline for the second part when we released the first part. After the film was released, after people started asking the question, then we thought, okay, this is nice.
So how did you add to that movement, the question of why did Kattappa kill Bahubali?
I didn't do it, people did it.
So it was completely organic, you're saying?
Completely. Once it started becoming viral with the people, then we thought, okay, let's use it.
So how did you use it? Tell us.
It's simple. Then we started putting it in the publicity and everything. We started releasing the posters with WKKB and
every interview you were asked.
Sorry?
Every interview you were asked. Why did Kattappa?
Every interview, every person I met, every greeting, it was the same thing.
Are you missing that now? That people are no longer asking, why did Kattappa kill Bahubali?
See, when people ask why Kattappa killed Bahubali, obviously know that I'm not going to give the answer, but they're not expecting the answer. It's a kind of greeting. You're saying hi, or something like that. Hi, Kattappa killed Bahubali. It's a kind of greeting. It's every part of Bahubali. Everyone does, but it's a part of life that's done. We are moving forward.
So is RRR going to be 2 parts or is it 1 part? So you're not going to have any So you have experimented with fantasy quite a bit, not just Bahubali, even before that, Magadha and other movies. When do you think Indian movie makers can really start making fantasy movies at perhaps a Hollywood scale without budget constraints, or are they forced to then make a movie which is completely pan-Indian? I'm talking about the fantasy genre.
See, as Indians, our culture started with fantasy storytelling. Right? We have fantasy storytelling in our blood, in our DNA. We are brought up on fantasy storytelling. It's just that our industry is is fragmented into regional film industries, and we don't have that kind of budgets to tell in a bigger scale. But again, budgets are only one constraint. It's not the whole constraint. It's not just that you have a big budget and you can make a good fantasy.
What are the other?
Like I said, it's in your brain. Even without budget, even without big budgets, you can make fantasy films. I mean, in another way, Ida is a fantasy film. It's not a realistic film. It's a fantasy oriented film. And compared to that, you have other films. It's a big budget, but it's not a very big budgeted film. So if you have the want of telling the story, whether it's fantasy or any other film, the drive should be in you to tell the story. So that is the biggest constraint, not having a drive, and always thinking in that commercial format. What is the format? So the biggest problem that we have today in India is that we have certain commercial films. I love commercial films. I make commercial films, but everyone tries to make a story in the same format. No, whether it's a big film, small, medium film, smaller film. No, they write the same kind of story, the same kind of meter. Whether it's for Rajnikant or whether it's for upcoming new guy with some golden star, with some star, with some kind of
There must be some actor with golden stars.
Sorry?
Who's called golden stars, I'm sure.
Yeah, I don't mean I don't mean it is about Ganesh. I'm just saying everyone wants to go into the same format. Okay, hero wanting to become a star is fine, but all the story writers making that kind of stories is not a good thing to happen. Then you are not exploring the stories that you want to tell. So that is the biggest constraint, not the budgets and all.
But will we ever see franchisees? Like I was talking to Mr. Shobhi yesterday, he said that there is a Shivagami web series coming out. But are we like still many years away from creating like Narendra or something that Marvel or Universal does? Do you think we are ever going to? We are aspiring to do that?
I'm actually surprised that we were not able to create a franchise till now. Our franchisees have been our stars. No, never been characters. I myself don't know why we haven't been able to create characters and make those characters a superhero. In that way, our biggest superhero is Patadim, I think. Franchisees. We should be doing that. I think the time is right now to create characters out of which we can make a franchise.
That are not about the actors.
No, it's not about the stars. I mean, we can't.
The stars.
Because then you have to invest more into the character building, story building, invest time, money, everything into that to make a franchise.
So now, just going to a different mode of question. How much do you think a filmmaker really owes to society? As in the movie, the stories that you tell. There is a lot of focus now on what cinema is speaking about, what is the social messaging of cinema. So how much do you think a movie maker owes to society as to you tell a story, the structure of a story should be in a way that it does not affect social factors?
That's a big debate, right?
Yes. So I'm just going to start.
What is the message that you will? First of all, I don't give any kind of messages. I never felt a need to give messages to the people. And what kind of what did you say? What do you owe to the society? A filmmaker or any other person. I don't know how to put it up. Let me reframe my answer.
Yes, sure. So, for example, there is a lot of discussion on how women are portrayed in movies, for example. So, do you take that kind of...
No, I don't. For me, we do our best for the society. We give the best to our society when we do our work to the best of our ability. that is the best way we can contribute to the society. For example, if you take Bahubali or say like we spent 450 crores on the film. Where did we spend that money? Where did that money go? There were we started working on what is the number of people that worked on Bahubali, big and small. It came to 1 lakh plus. So 1 lakh plus people were working on Bahubali for 5 years. So we are giving their salaries or their remunerations or whatever for that period of time. And also the levels of working skills go up to that extent. Today the VFX artist who worked on Bahubali is capable of working on any Marvel Universe work that has been assigned to him. The level of his skill set goes up to that level. I'm just saying as an example, whether it's a carpenter on the set of Bahubali, he is in the level of an art assistant or to a much bigger level. He can do much better work than what he did for before 5 years. That was after getting paid for what he was working. So this is the way that we contribute. When you make a good film, when you make a big film, or whatever film that you make, you're giving so much of I don't know how to put it. Whatever my answer.
Back to society.
Back to society. That's and your answer. I'm just coming to that point. As a filmmaker, that you go to the society, or many people think that when the question comes is that the other way of putting the question is that is the films only for entertainment or give you any message? My problem is with the word only. Entertainment is a big thing. A big thing. I remember my art director telling me this story. The story of storytelling. When did it start? How did it start? So when people were still in the hunting and gather stage, life was very difficult. They didn't know what the future was going to be, what tomorrow is going to be. It's a hard life. You go out, face many dangers, and you come back. And at the end of the day, when you used to sit around the fire, and then someone will start a story. The story would be anything, about a hero, about a comedy, about a tragedy, or anything. But that would make people let go of their daily troubles, forget their daily life for a moment, go into a separate life, emote through those people, whether it's laughing, crying, anger, whatever. And you feel refreshed to start your daily life next day. After centuries, even today, whether it's a doctor, whether it's a rickshaw or anyone, we still are not sure about the future. You need a way to let go of your daily life and emote in a different story. That is what we do we call it entertainment, but what we are doing is that we are taking off these emotions for the time being, make them emote in a different story, refreshing them and going back to their life. That is what we do. And if I do my job correctly, that is what I'm giving back.
I understand your point that cinema gives a lot of employment, that cinema is also about entertainment. But what I mean to ask you is that, for example, through the Me Too movement, or even the conversations around feminism and feminine about how women are portrayed in movies, there's a lot of criticism on the character of Avantika. I mean, I was reading up on this movie called Vikramarth Kudu, where the hero has obsession with the heroine's navel. So, what do you think of those portrayals in your movies? Would you do those differently now because you have received criticism over those, or do you still, I mean, is that social messaging then right?
Two different questions. Social messaging is different than what you're talking about. Portrayal
of women. Especially Avantika's character was, that whole song was criticized quite a bit.
Initially, the criticism of Avantika came through it was deeply pained. I was very angry, and gradually I thought, okay, all kinds of people exist, it doesn't matter.
movies somehow maintain status quo, especially the Varna system, you sort of follow it. So my auxiliary question to you is, when you said you don't want to change anything about Avantika, but so what most of the filmmakers in that session were saying is that if I am someone from the oppressed community, my stories are not being told from the prism of how I see it. It's like, for example, it's always the gaze of the upper caste, like for the women it's always the male gaze. So, do you believe that you have to start looking at things from a different perspective also, from a woman's perspective, from someone from an oppressed community?
No, see,
and to explain why you wouldn't change anything.
no, when I tell a story which excites me, which emotes me, about what I feel great about telling the story. First of all, I should feel nice about telling the story. I should emote. No, it's not about, okay, what people are saying today. I don't look in that perspective at all. First, I should like the story. I should feel nice telling the story. And I tell that story to the people. And if there's someone who feels, okay, today there is some Me Too movement coming and someone feels very emotionally about it, and someone feels there's a story to tell about that particular subject, and they should go ahead and make it. You can't ask, you can ask, but you can't expect every storyteller to pick up a subject that you like and
Yeah. So I have one question that I'll come to the audience. Yeah. Yes. So if you had no budget constraints, if nobody has putting any pressure on it and it has to become a hit, and you don't have to work with stars, what is the movie that you would want to make?
Yeah, Ramayana and Mahabharata, no doubt about it.
Okay, so only those who come to the mics, do not camouflage comments as questions. I will cut you off if you do that. So ask your question. 10 minutes.
Hi, Mr. Rajamouli. I saw a Facebook post of yours in which you were carrying a sword with your cinematographer. What kind of creative differences you had in this process? I'm sure there are a lot of people involved in many departments during the filmmaking process, especially with the cinematographer.
Sorry, I didn't get the question.
I saw a Facebook post in which you were carrying a sword along with a creative director.
What creative differences did you have by making the movie?
With my cinematographer.
With everybody, so I'm sure
Did you producer?
Not much. The biggest creative differences I always have is with my father, the story writer. Most of the, no, actually there's no joke in it. I argue with him the most, and he criticizes me the most. And apart from that, I don't think I have many creative differences with anyone.
And with your life, she influences a lot of your cinema, I would
Yeah, there is no argument. I have to take that.
Yes.
So, you mentioned that you wouldn't change anything about Avantika and film, but there are other things that you would change. Can you give an example of a few?
Yeah, the reason why Shivkani made a decision to kill Amrendra Bhattari, for me that was not strong enough. By making the story, we thought it was strong enough. By making it towards the end of it, I felt it was not strong enough, and still I think it is not strong enough. There should be something else why she decided to kill them. That's one of my
Thanks for being here.
Okay, now we just go to that side. One minute.
Thanks for being here. Just a quick question. With data becoming cheap and Netflix and Amazon Prime entering the digital platforms, do you think it will have an impact on the type of movies which are being made or the structural cinema which people want to take? Just to get your opinion on that.
There will definitely be a big impact. The biggest impact would be initially earlier cinema or mainstream cinema would is the only platform, at least for 80-90% of the people, to tell the stories. And mainstream cinema has certain formats, so only you can enter into the mainstream cinema if you can tell your stories in those formats. But with all these digital platforms coming in, you can tell your story to different segments of people. So there is a chance of more kinds of stories. Now, the biggest criticism on Telugu cinema or Indian cinema is that we make very stereotypical films. Now we have a chance to make different kinds of films for different kinds of audiences at different budget and levels. So I think that will make a very big impact on the next 10 years storytelling.
Yes, please.
Hi, I would like to ask you a question about soft power. So, like, you see,
You can't hear.
well, I would like to ask you a question about soft power. So, like, if you see Hollywood, it's like a great example of how America has influenced like many other countries, and like China is trying to do the same with this industry and trying to increase soft power. Do you think, like, Indian cinema, like, with its like growing success, could increase India's soft power abroad?
Could Indian cinema increase its soft power abroad?
I'm sorry, I don't know what is
Soft power. Like, so soft power is like a concept where countries increase their cultural like influence over other nations, while hard power is like military.
Soft cultural influence on other countries.
Frankly, I don't know the answer. If that helps us reduce the influence of the West on us, that will be a great thing.
Sir, there new tariffs are going on and filmmakers are making movies on politicians like this accidental Prime Minister, and I heard there is a movie coming on our Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Vivek Oberoi acting. Let's say somebody come to you like Rahul Gandhi or Donald Trump. You know? They say, if you say, okay, you are a great filmmaker, can you make a movie on my autobiography? Do you think you will be interested in doing that?
Would you make?
But where is the story? I need to see an emotional story.
Thank you so much.
So I want to ask you one question. Those of you who don't know, he also supported Mr. Jaitley and Lok Sabha. So, do you ever see yourself in politics or supporting politicians in Andhra and Telangana?
Me in politics, no. My stint with politics ended with JP opting out of active politics. The only politician whom I really admired, whom I really liked, is Dr. JP.
Yes.
Okay. My name is Uday. Question to you is, now that you're super successful, you're a star yourself, you probably will draw the numbers just like an acting star, and people are looking up to you, like other industries, KGF, etc. Are you thinking about creating channels or avenues for newer actors or newer technical crew members, either to work with you or to probably have a studio like Dharma Productions or YRF or Aditya Roy Kapoor's company? Have you been thinking on those lines, because now you have that?
Create more opportunities.
Actually, it's not about being a star or not about having a name for yourself. Identifying newer talent is an art itself. Art itself. I tried to do that before possible. I tried to do that, and I realized that I'm not that kind of person. I realized that it's a different art form. Identifying the talent and letting it grow is a completely different art by itself. Because the moment someone starts telling the story or telling something, I started putting my thoughts into it. And then I realized, no, this is not the way to do it.
So you're comfortable with established stars?
Not the stars. I'm talking more about the storytellers, not the stars.
But he's saying about creating opportunities for new stars, new directors.
Oh, you're talking only about stars.
No,
For everyone,
actors,
actors included, technical crew and all of that, and even if they're not working directly with you, probably have studios, like Karan Johar's studio, he doesn't work directly with them.
Like I said, it's identifying new talent and nurturing that talent and letting it grow is a different art form itself, which I don't possess. But if I find someone, I'm keen to do it. I'm keen to do it. If someone like Shobu is willing to do it, I definitely partner with him.
Yes.
I have a question. Oh, hi. So when I watched the movie Bahubali here in Boston, I went with a bunch of friends. I think the one scene where everybody, all the women, including myself, everybody stood up and started clapping was when that guy's head was chopped off because he touched the lady without her permission. So look to me like in your storytelling, even though you said you don't look for social messages, there's always women empowerment or there's other things embedded in them. So my question is, what are the top 3 things you look for in a story to be successful?
Story to be successful is
or you want to direct?
Yeah, that's there are no 3 things. There is only one thing, which I have been saying again and again, that I should feel emotional about that particular story. I should be able to visualize as the story is being told or as the story is being formed. I should be able to visualize that in my head, and that visual should stay with me for a considerably long time. Then the story will be dictating me, as if the story is a person and dictating me to tell, to bring that onto the screen. So that's the only criteria.
I mean, the story needs to be good, but what elements are the 3 things?
Okay, I'm sorry. No, I mean,
That's the only one thing.
more
Like I
question
said,
and
that's the only thing. It should be moving.
Yeah, last question.
Rajamouli garu namaste. So I have a question. How many languages we have released Bahubali so far? And
No, I didn't Google that.
do you have
Maybe it's not a question, like a real question.
do you have any plans of releasing in more languages? And how
No,
much?
That's subtitles, bro.
A follow-up question. And